welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachel Ann
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachel Ann and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the podcast. Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
You know, over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that? Hey!
Today, I was thinking it would be interesting because there are so many sort of tiers in where you could be in your business or where you might be in your goals and stuff like that. And from an outside perspective, you might hear Rachel talk for a while and think, oh, she's at the top. She's doing everything she wants to do already. Or you might see me at the level I'm at, he's successful doing his business. And that might be interesting to talk a little bit about. Rachel and I both kind of have some other goals and aspirations that we neither of us feels like we're at where we want to be yet. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk a little bit about some of the things we haven't checked off the list yet, as far as, I don't know, any kind of business, life goal, aspiration, any kind of thing that we kind of have in the back of our head still driving us forward. Does that sound like it makes sense?
Yes, I love it. I think that's a wonderful topic to talk about. I think it's really important for people to see all different levels of the business. And I think you and I have an advantage being together because you're a year and a half in, I'm going on 6 years. And we are at different areas of growth in our businesses. So I think this will be a good, fresh perspective on both of our areas. Maybe people can identify more with you or identify more with me, on the different levels that they're at or where they want to go.
Right. And either position could be a point that you reach and you said, that's where I want to be. And you could just, continue forward like that for the rest of your career. Potentially you could be a one-man show and just do that for the next 10 years or whatever. Or you could be where Rachel's at, build that team, and then just say, hey, this is where I want to be and continue on. So you might look at it that way too, but you may be like either of us and still think, well, you might get there, maybe even think that's where you're going, and you get there and go, okay, well, now I think I want to do something else that I didn't originally think. So I think that's part of in the mix as well. So anyway, but I'll start by saying, when I was at my old tech job, doing a 9 to 6 kind of thing. And I remember having that moment going, I don't have any control of my life. I do all these hours every week and it's always going to be that way. And my vacation is going to be what it's going to be. And the only way I'm going to make more money is if if somebody decides that I'm worth it and I can get that raise every 5 years or whatever the case might be. So I just thought, and I just started to feel a little in the rat race too. Like we work, everybody works 5 days a week and that's what it's going to be. And you get your 2 days a week and that's it for your life. And I was like, well, and so one of my goals was to have more control in my life. So that's one of the things that, doing your own photo business, while the reality may be that, you might work even more hours, you are, at the end of the day, you're in charge of it. There's consequences. But I feel like that's one of the things I checked off. Like, okay, you know what? If I decide I want to take 3 days off for a small vacation to, go somewhere for a couple days or something, even if it's a local thing, I can do that. And I do that in the summer. So I feel like, all right, I'm heading towards that goal. But things that I've not hit that are the next things down the road that I want to get to too. And I have some little things in the back of my mind that I'm working on to get there eventually, but not fully there yet, is I want residual income. So I would like to not have to physically be working for my money every day, right? The boots on the ground. I don't always want to have to show up to make the money. And so, I have some ideas for like a book. I've dabbled in some, stock footage stuff, video footage and stuff like that, but I haven't really focused on it. But I think the book thing down the line for just some basic kind of ebook thing, I'd like to do that. And who knows? But the other thing is I don't know exactly, but I just know that I'm not there yet. What's one of the things that you're not there yet on business wise, Rachel?
Well, let's talk about this a little bit. So what is next step in getting to that. So obviously you're saying you need to hire shooters, right, to come on and shoot for you so that you can have the option to shoot or not shoot. So maybe
Yes.
you shoot 50% of the time instead of 100%, right?
Right.
And that would pay you even though you're not working.
Yeah,
So,
and so yeah, I'd like to start making money. That's the first thing that I've started doing is I've tried several times to train someone to come on as another shooter, and it hasn't worked out a couple times, and I'm on the third try of that, and it's going better than it's ever gone, and hopefully it'll continue to go well. And but yeah, I'd like to have other shooters that can go out, so that if I want to take a day off, I'm also not just directly straight up losing my business if I potentially take off a week.
right.
Or if I get sick. That's the other thing. I always felt like, if when I was a waiter, if I broke my foot, I couldn't wait tables. That was it. I'm not making money anymore, right? That's a problem. I don't want that to be a thing eventually. I'd like that to not be a problem. That if there was a week I couldn't work for whatever reason, whether it was a vacation or something else, that it wasn't a direct failing point right at that instant, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So yeah, building the team, that's part of it. I'd like to build the team to still have the business rolling, even if I'm not running out there for any of them eventually, that I could potentially not do that at all. I could find another capacity of the business to focus on, maybe be the face of the business more and, doing other things. I don't know exactly, but sure, maybe I'd do some shoots here and there, but it wouldn't really be my main role. Right.
Gotcha. Yeah. So one of the things that I think you said that's really important that we should touch on is that this job is really physically demanding. And if you get injured, like for instance, I had to have ankle surgery in 2018 and I was out for 2 weeks, no pressure on my foot, 6 weeks. Really, it was going to be very difficult for me to shoot for 6 weeks. 5 days after my surgery, my client called and said, "Hey, can you come do photos of this townhome?" And I was like, "Dude, I just had surgery. Like, I'm on crutches. I'm on pain meds." I'm like,
right.
I'm like, sure. So I went. I didn't take my pain meds that morning. Got there, hobbled around on crutches. The guy that met me carried my camera, set it down where I needed it so I could take the shot. Went home. I was destroyed. Like, it was so dumb of me to say yes. I should have just had like that hard no. But, it was a year into my business. I was worried about losing a client. I had that, that entrepreneur paranoia that we all get. Like, if I don't do it, if I say no, they're going to go somewhere else. And then what if they like that person better and I lose that client? And this is my bread and butter. This is what's feeding me and paying my bills, and as a self-employed entrepreneur, it's up to us to bring the income in. There's no security blanket of someone just feeding you money. So that's that is a big concern, that it is so physically demanding, and you never know. And you never know when you're going to break an ankle, right?
Yeah.
Or anything. So and even if you're not interested in growing a team and hiring on other shooters to work with you, at least have a couple photographers in your area that you know and that you trust and that you like, and that they do good similar work to you, and they're not going to steal your clients if you say, "Hey, you know what, I'm booked, but go try out Corbin or go try out Edvard." Those are a couple in my area that we kind of trade back and forth with when we're busy. And it's like, go out to lunch with them, call them up, get to know them a little bit so that you feel comfortable with them, and just talk to them about it. Say, "Hey, if something happens to me or if I'm too busy, would you be interested in taking my client just for one and then happily passing them back, hopefully."
Is that, have you gone about that too? I've chatted with a couple photographers locally, and one time I was asking them just, "Hey, did you want to kind of do some of that stuff together?" And they were a little hesitant. But did you have any kind of? So I'm assuming that that's happened, and you've done some of that for each other. And was there any kind of formal agreement, or it was just a, "Hey, we'll film for each other," and that was that?
Yeah, that was it. I had another one too. His name was Chris, and he was back in the beginning days, and I would kind of shoot houses for him as a second shooter. And then, sometimes we'd pass clients back and forth. So it's just, you got to feel them out, see if you can trust them or not. But I just think it's good to have people in the business like alliances that and you can trust. So.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. I think I really should take a day, and there's a couple of guys locally that I've bumped into, a couple girls. There's one girl that works with one of my clients who's awesome, and I know her because we actually physically cross paths and shoots and stuff like that. So that one, I think that would be a good one there too. And then there's two other guys that I've heard of, and I bumped into one at a shoot just because we were crossing paths for the same shared space for like a headshot session. He was doing video work. He was doing a headshot shot session right after. So yeah, I think it would be smart to just reach. I've been thinking about reaching out to that guy I met and just chat with him a little bit more. We spoke about it, but that's a good idea. Going out to lunch or something and just chat that out. Because it'd be so nice to just not have to worry quite as much about that. Because that's a real fear
Right.
when you're a waiter or any kind of business
Hmm.
where it's just you get sick, and that's a direct wow. How are you going to pay your bills right then and there if you're out for a couple weeks? Even with COVID, that happened over the winter. I couldn't back before it changed to like a couple days that you had to quarantine. It was 14 days. That was a big impact that I couldn't go work for,
Huge, huge. That's half your
so
month. I mean, that is half of your income
yeah, it's
in,
crazy.
in a really slow month anyway. So anything you got in that month, I'm sure was like, oh,
Yeah. And you're right. They have to go. They got their job. They need to get their stuff photographed. So they're going to find somebody else and they're going to use them. And there is potential there that they might
did you
go,
lose
well,
anyone that you know of after that?
I don't know if I lost them, but they definitely used other photographers for a period at least. And they're using, all my clients seem to still be using me, I think,
Yeah,
but
and
maybe they're using those other
I have
ones
a couple.
more.
I have a couple clients who use me and another company, and it
Mm,
depends on what the property is. Sometimes they'll hire me, sometimes they'll hire them, and I'll
yep.
see their posts on social media, and I'm like, oh, we didn't shoot that, but that looks really good. Like that other company did a great job. Like good for you.
Yeah.
But they like me and they're straight up with me. Like one girl's like, oh yeah, my mom likes to hire this other company, but I like to hire you. So we just kind of switch back and forth. And they're a team, a mother-daughter team, and I'm like,
Oh,
sweet,
okay.
sounds great. I'm like,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'll always do my best for you, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I think it's good to build those alliances, make sure you want to check them out, make sure their work is equivalent to what you're doing. So when you're
Hmm.
sending a client to them, they're getting the same quality and expectation that you're delivering to them. And then also the pricing, make sure the pricing is pretty similar.
Right.
Because you don't want to send them somewhere where they charge half or double. Like that might be bad for business.
Oh, and so that's a good question too on that note. If those people are filling in for you, are they filling in under their business or are they filling in under your business? Did you have an agreement that they were going to be like representing you
Yeah.
or
I've done it both ways. So I've had them shoot for me and I've done this for other people too, where I just shoot for them and then send them the raws, or they just shoot for me and then send me the raws. Then I handle all the client invoicing, communications, photo delivery, and then I just pay them a percentage for the shoot or whatever number we agree on. But now at this point, like we don't shoot for other photographers now because we're just so busy. Like I don't even have enough shooters right now. I need my 3 in training to be ready to go like now. So when I need a shoot covered or like when I can't do the shoot, I a lot of times will reach out to these other photographers and see if they'll shoot it for me as a second shooter. And then I can handle all of it. If I'm going to be out of town and I know I can't deliver the files and it's going to be a pain, then I'll just let them take it 100%.
Hmm.
But, thinking in a business mindset, like I'm going to make a percentage off of that if they just shoot it. If I just send it to them, we could have some kind of referral fee, like, hey, you give me 10, 15%, 20%, whatever for this referral. Or you just, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So it kind of depends on
Yeah.
what you decide. But I think trying out first, like see if they'll shoot it for you as a second shooter is usually the best way to go at first. That way you keep it in your company. My clients have a client portal where all of their shoots live. And what if they need to access those photos and they're on someone else's platform now and it's harder to get to it? So it's always
Yeah.
good to keep them under your umbrella and what they're used to.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if it was like a sprained ankle scenario, you could still be sitting on your computer, managing all, sending it all out, then that would make total
Exactly.
sense. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. 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 So Rachel, what I know that you've got, I think your aspirations are probably never ending. I think you're a person who, no matter what peak you reach, you're going, now where's the next summit? But I know there's stuff, but tell us about some of the stuff that you want to do next.
Sure. So I have a team of 5 shooters, an admin, virtual assistant, in-person assistant, brand manager, accountant, and social media manager. And I have 3 shooters in training. And then I have a group of editors. I have like 3 editors. So I am looking to remove myself from the shooting aspect. Not 100%, but I would love to only shoot the ones that I want to shoot.
Mm.
Like if I want to do 1 on Monday and 2 on Wednesday and 1 on Friday, like I want to be able to have that option. One, so that I'm getting a little burnt out of shooting all day, every day. I mean, I'm going on 6 years of shooting full time. And it's exhausting. It's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, you know. So having other shooters on there to help me out is great, but I just need more. And we're growing so fast. I'm marketing and it's working. It's great. And I have more marketing up my sleeve that's coming out. It's honestly, by the time this is live, it's probably already dropping on social media. You know, it's great. It's really fun. And that is the kind of stuff that I am really, really passionate about right now, the marketing of the business. And I would love to move more into helping agents market themselves better, help them with their lifestyle photos, helping them to discover their purpose, their why, you know, more than just calling them up and saying, okay, let's schedule your lifestyle shoot, bring 3 outfits, let's pick a location, you know, bring some props, like I'll walk you through all the poses. Like that is my consultation right now for lifestyle photos. But what I want to create is almost like a full course that they go through that helps them develop a marketing strategy to use these photos on their social media and to start building out that lifestyle brand that I've created, and really helping them to understand how they use these photos to their advantage. So that's kind of where my mindset is right now. And then also the podcast we did this on a whim, Neal. It was like, I talked to you one time. I think we recorded 5 days later after we first had that conversation?
I don't know. We just dove right in. I think that's just you and I. We're like, let's go.
We talked twice on the phone and we text for like a week, and then we recorded our first podcast. It was so impulsive and it was such a risk because I'm like, what if this guy's psychotic? Like, you never know.
I know, right?
But I totally lucked out. You're completely 100% normal with a little bit of nut, and you're just like,
no one's gonna believe I'm 100% normal for sure. No.
Right. No, I had one of my friends listen to the podcast, and she goes, wait, I didn't realize you just met Neal. She goes, I thought you've known him for years. Like, you guys have been best friends for years. I'm like, no, we just have great chemistry. We just totally were like buddies. It's awesome.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, I know. I always said to Rachel that we're like pen pals. Like.
So this podcast is a way, like, I wanted to do the podcast because I wanted to find my voice and learn how to speak better, learn how to teach better. I would love to get into mentorship. Yeah. You know, I'm working on an online course right now. I've got 3 different courses I want to launch, starting with one. So yeah, this is just I just want to get my voice out there and help as many entrepreneurs as possible. I think, you know, this business and where I'm at in my life is I am in the best state of mind that I've ever been in. I'm happy. I have a great family. I have a great business. I have a great life. I really couldn't ask for more. So I just want other people to have that as well.
Yeah, you're a great motivator, you're a great teacher and all that. So yeah, that makes total sense. And I feel the same. I've always really liked, I am a helper. We've talked about this before. I really like helping people. So I do feel that when I'm out on my shoots, and I do connect to that, and I do like that. But I also connect to that wanting, I envision doing more of the social media video stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I really get a kick out of when I see those posts and stuff people have done with me. I like that. So one of the next things I don't know where it is on the road map yet. I almost dove into getting a space to try and make a little mini studio and a place where we could help people and get them rolling on some marketing, social media stuff. But eventually I would like a little studio and some kind of setup where they can come in and, you know, film stuff with professional lighting and audio and stuff like that, and help them build a social media presence, because I am really excited when I see the agents that work with me. They're all doing, if they weren't already doing great, they are just, I see them all kind of growing as they go, if they weren't already there, you know. And so it's fun to see that. Not that it's directly because of me, but just I like being a part of it, you know. And I think if I could get in with especially some of the newer ones and really get into the marketing and social stuff with them, I think it would be really cool to be a part of that growth, you know.
Definitely.
So
definitely. Yeah, it's fun to watch them blossom and really start to utilize the media that you've created for them and see them use it well and use it right. So yeah. I think, okay, just from a business standpoint, like to give you some advice maybe on you wanting to get a studio space. So as real estate photographers, we have very low overhead, meaning we don't have to pay rent at a space. You know, we buy a camera, it lasts a year or two, whatever. There isn't a whole lot of expenses. So if you were to rent a studio space, that is going to be a monthly reoccurring expense.
Yep.
So just make sure that you have clients in the pipeline and you're making enough to cover that plus covering your time. So make sure you definitely run your numbers before you
Yeah, and
dive into that, right?
it has to be a thing where I can get enough. If it were a video thing, there's two venues I think I could use out of the space. Is it have to be a good space for headshots, which is something that I could scale up quickly to make sure I've got recurring income, or I could do social stills kind of thing where I'd have people sign up for a certain a couple times, whatever the period would be, to come in for lifestyle photos to keep their social media content rolling. But I'd want people to and potentially social media content that they'd agree to 6 months or whatever the time frame would be. Maybe give them a couple options, a 6 month contract or a year contract, where they would do a couple times, once a month or a couple times a month or whatever it might be for all these things. I wouldn't want to jump into a space without having people signed up for those things to know that I have money coming in. I wouldn't want to just totally gamble it. But I know that I could, and that's why I've dabbled around with this social media stuff, having a couple of my great clients play around with it. And then I know that the headshot stuff is something too that I could just add as another real big. I do it now, but I don't really go after it a lot. So I could amp up the marketing for any of those items to, especially if I have a space. Obviously, I could really focus on doing that stuff. So I'm not super concerned about that, but it is definitely something I'm thinking about, because you don't want to be upside down with another mortgage, or another rent over your head for sure.
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about that too. I'm like, how cool would it be for us to have like a headquarters, And then I'm like, wait, no, Seattle, it is so expensive. It would be like $4,000 a month minimum to have a commercial space. Like, it's so expensive here. It's crazy.
Oh, and I'd be starting small too. That's the other thing. I would just get a space where I would love to have two spaces where a photo shoot could be happening in one, and then the video thing could be happening in the other, so you could book both of those out. But it wouldn't have to be very big for what I'm trying to do. Yeah, a big space, it would be I'd be worried about that. It would just be something small to start, and also just have a space. And then I think about all this kind of stuff about it too, that ideally I wouldn't. The other problem with that is somebody's got to run the space. I can't run the space if I am running all my shoots all day long. Yeah. So it's either I'm out of running the shoots at that point and I can focus on that, or it's that I get a person who can run the office and who can turn on the lights and hit record on the cameras. But that's why it's not a instantaneous thing for me right now. But it would be more of a as needed smaller space to start. And then when I had those monthly shoots, I could use this space, but that's why it'd have to be a smaller rent kind of thing. So it wasn't very taxing. But yeah, eventually what I see is having somebody who's a really good marketing expertise in there to help people. I would like to have classes in there, helping people with social media. Once a month you can come in to a class and learn something new about social media, try it out with your phone, try it out on some tablet we have set up that's a safe zone to play around, and that kind of stuff, and have somebody who can run cameras and edit things and all that. But that's down the line. Yeah.
Well, it's good to dream, and that brings me to the next segment called manifestation.
There you go.
So I'm sure all of you have heard of manifestation. It's like really hot right now. It's all over everywhere. I see it everywhere. Maybe it's just because I'm doing it currently. But manifestation is basically imagining, like thinking and feeling like you already have something. So think about the next step going forward. Like, let's say I want to be a public presenter. I want to be a public figure. I want to stand on a stage and present motivational speech to 1,000 people in a room, right? Like, to me, that sounds terrifying at the moment, but what would it feel like if I were confident? How would it feel if I was actually doing that, right? So I'm going to put myself in that position. I'm going to picture, I'm very visual, so I visually manifest. You can also write it down in a journal. You can speak it, like just talk out loud, and you talk as if you already are that thought leader, that presenter on stage. So you would say, like, I just got done presenting on stage today and it felt so good. I had the whole crowd laughing. They were standing up, applauding me. I really think that I connected with a lot of people today, and I ended up selling $50,000 of courses at this one single event, so it's speaking as if it's already true. And then I use it a lot with visualization. So I visualize myself teaching a course, like doing this podcast and it getting bigger and bigger. I see it just reaching thousands, hundreds of thousands eventually once we get some traction. It's a lot about just believing in yourself and believing that you can do something and seeing it and pretending like you're already there. And it's amazing how with that thought, you're actually reprogramming your subconscious by doing this. You're telling your subconscious that you already are better than you are now, and that will reinforce into your conscious thoughts.
Totally visualizing. Yeah, I think there's tons of examples of that visualization kind of stuff for years now in sports and all kinds of stuff like that. You see the runners in the Olympics when they're in those blocks or before they even get in the blocks, and they're on the sidelines thinking about when they do get in the blocks, and they're sitting, you can see them and they look like they're in a daze, but what they're doing is picturing how they're going to start, picturing how when the gun goes, how they're going to come out of the blocks, picturing them running down the line, and they're picturing them crossing that line first. Or if they're going, doing the long jump or, a high jump, they're picturing their form, they're picturing everything as perfect. And yeah, that visualization helps them do it, right? They train their brain to do it.
Yep.
They already trained their body for the whole year, and they've trained their brain to do it, and now they do it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
Yeah,
So
no, it's good
try
stuff.
it out. Try it out.
Yeah, and when I think about these things too, like that space and stuff, I don't know when all the pieces are going to come together, and I think I have a little bit of faith about some things that pieces are going to start to align. And if I'm just preparing and thinking about these and thinking about potentially how I could do these things when some of them pieces start to get closer together, then I start to make some actions on those things and it comes together. But yeah, definitely got to be thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would tell you is don't get stuck on all the little details, because there's a lot of roadblocks, right? When you start dreaming big, you're like, well, that could never happen because I can't travel like 5 days a week, or, this realistically would never happen. Like, don't let all the little details get in the way of your dream. Just dream it. It's going to start to manifest and come into your reality. Like, doors will start opening that appear, like this podcast. This was something that I was literally just reading a book like a week before we met, and it said you need to find your voice, and a great way to do that is to do a podcast. And I was thinking in my head, like, okay, yeah, I could do a podcast by myself. And I'm like, it would just be like me talking. Like, that's kind of weird. I'd rather, maybe I do it with someone. And I'm going down the line, like trying to figure out who could I do it with, And then you and I talked a week later, and here we are. I mean, it like appeared. Yeah. So, and maybe that was coincidence, maybe it was manifestation. I don't know. But whatever it was beautiful and it worked out. So just being open to those opportunities when they present themselves, right? Like, just be a yes girl or a yes man. Like, have you seen that movie?
Is that Jim Carrey?
Yes Day? I think it's called Yes Day.
Oh, is it Yes? Oh, yeah. There's also Yes Man. I think that's Jim Carrey.
Okay.
And then there's Yes Day. Is that the parents that say yes to everything? Yes, I've seen that one too. Yeah.
So it's the parents that, like, I don't even remember how it goes down, but they're basically like, I don't think they're doing a good job with their kids very much. Like, they're pretty absent-minded. They're all disconnected. So they decide they're going to have a yes day. So the parents have to say yes to everything. And the kids are like, okay, we're going to go through the car wash and we have to roll down the windows. And they do everything. It's a really funny movie. So of course my kids are like, Mom, can we do a yes day? I'm like, yes, but there's going to be boundaries. I will not roll down my windows through the car wash. That's a hard no, kids.
I kind of want a yes day. That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
No, I know. And that's, and definitely for, like, we were talking about, going to the conference coming up and trying to make that happen. I'm like, I'm going, I see real potential of positive things for going to something like that. And so I'm just trying to gear towards getting there. Right.
So Neal is talking about the PMRE conference going on in Vegas the first week of November. I think it's November 7th and 8th, correct? 8th
I don't remember.
I don't know. But anyways, first week, maybe second week, whatever week it is. It's in November. Look it up. But it's the Photography and Marketing Real Estate Conference. And there's a bunch of guest speakers. There's you can take some courses.
Yeah, courses and stuff. Yeah. And there's some people we studied when we were just coming up learning photography. They're doing courses and stuff, and it's kind of cool that you could go take a direct class with them and stuff like that. But I'm amped up about kind of just the atmosphere of it. And Rachel's going and a couple of her team members are going, and I just think it would be just a fun networking thing to go to. And I think obviously for the podcast it'd be great to spread the word and stuff like that. But I things like that, I have a gut about them. I don't always know exactly. I don't feel like going to the podcast is a make or break for the business, but I feel like it could be some things that I can't envision yet coming together. Some of these puzzle pieces kind of coming to place for who knows what is why I think it'd be worth going.
Yeah. And we're not trying to make money off this podcast either, Neal. We're just doing it to do it. It's fun. We enjoy talking about these topics. I learn stuff. You learn stuff from just our podcast.
Yeah, no. But in general though, even for the podcast, but also my business and growing and all of these things are, I feel like, and just my journey as a person, as a business owner, I don't know exactly. I don't have I don't have a specific end goal for my business or my career or any of that.
Or your life.
And it's always evolving for me. And I couldn't have pictured I would be here 5 years ago doing what I'm doing, but I like what I'm doing. But now I'm not, in another 5 years, I'm curious to see what will have changed in advance then. And I think all these things, I feel like a connection happening, the podcast, the business, all this stuff. And I just think it's one more of those things like, okay, this is propelling to, I don't know what, but in good directions.
Yeah. Do you get that like overwhelming rush of like good things are coming really soon?
I feel it. I feel good things are coming. We are both very positive people.
Yes.
And I just feel the more I work in the right direction to do good things, and that, more good things are coming. But I do feel momentum. I do feel momentum, a lot of momentum and positive things coming. And I'm like, okay, I got to find a way to go to that conference because it's just one more.
You're going.
I'm going. All right.
We're going to make t-shirts that say, have you listened to our podcast?
I'm going.
With a little QR code on it. Don't worry, it'll be a cute t-shirt.
Yeah. And I'm saying it out loud on the podcast for the same reason these things that we talk about. I'm talking about it because I'm putting it out in the world that I'm gearing towards that direction, finding the way to make it all happen and get there and whatnot. So I am going to say that I will be there. Yeah.
I need my partner in crime.
We're going to be there. It's going to be last. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I got a couple things I got to figure out, but they will come together and we will get there. So yes.
I'm excited to meet some of these photographers that I've met on social media.
Oh, that would be a kick just to see people running around too, and you're like, oh, wait.
Oh, I know you. Wait a minute. Hey, it'll be fun. Yeah. Jordan Powers is one that I met Jordan, probably 4 years ago. I reached out to him. I found him on social media and been following him, and we've been talking business back and forth for years.
Cool.
And now he's turned into a pretty big deal. He's a great photographer. He's a great guy. He's a genius. He's got great business sense and whatnot. So and he's got his own course, and he's doing really cool things. So.
Yeah, I've heard him in a couple podcasts, and I've checked out some videos. I've seen him in a couple of videos and thought, he's very savvy. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it'll be cool to finally meet him in person. And
totally.
then Brian and Rich, they'll be there, so that'll be awesome.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. I saw Rich has I don't know if Brian has a class too, but Rich had a class. I saw that.
Mm-hmm. No, Brian does too. Yeah,
that would be really fun. It'd be kind of funny though, because you're used to hearing him in YouTube videos, and so it's going to be a little bit of a trip when you see him in person. Like, oh, there he is. Yeah.
Oh. Isn't it funny when you hear someone's voice only on the radio, and then you see a picture of him, and you're like, that does not add up to what I heard.
No, that's always strange when you see somebody's face and you hear a voice, because you, like reading a book, you start imagining the characters, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you visualize them.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And then one of the co-hosts is Bethany Diedrich, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yep.
And she actually edits the podcast for Shooting Spaces.
Yep.
And she's going to be there, so I'm excited to meet her as well.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, that'd be exciting. Well, I guess everybody needs to go to Vegas and check it.
Come meet us in Vegas. We'd love to see you all,
meet
you all, and maybe even get some guests on the show. How about this? If you find us and you say, I want to be a guest, we'll put you in a hat for a drawing to be a guest on our show.
Yeah. And that's one of the next things I'm excited to start doing too on the podcast, is start having some people guests on the show too. It'd be really fun. So
definitely.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Whoop, whoop.
Setting goals. Look at us.
A part of me is still craving I like to be a character, I used to do improv and sketch comedy and stuff like that. And part of this, I also still feel there is going to be an element of that, whether it's this podcast or who knows what else that, and I do like that this podcast is a little of that, but I do feel a little bit of a driving force to some of that too. And if I ever get to grow the business to a point where I can be more of the front of the face of it, the marketing or something like that, that could be fun to just be more my ridiculous self. And so anyway, I don't know. That's kind of what I wanted. I thought it'd be fun chatting about today. Just kind of the things that are not checked off. We're not there either. We still got the things we want to do. I'm sure you all have the things you still want to do, but I thought it'd be fun for us to just kind of chat about it. And hopefully some of these things got you thinking about some things you want to do as well. And hopefully we'll see you in Vegas.
Yes. I'll be there.
All right. We're making it happen. All right, cool.
Yes.
Well, hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.